Will the St. Louis Blues be able to start a winning streak tonight after they take on the Jets and hopefully get a win? Well, I'm going to discuss all of the possibilities here on Locked On Blues.
You're Locked On Blues, your daily podcast on the St. Louis Blues. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And welcome back to Locked On Blues. Hello, my name is Haley Taylor Simon. I am your host of Locked On Blues, a part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day. For those listening on different streaming devices, hello and welcome. And on YouTube, it is good to see you again. Today's episode, I will be focusing on the Blues hosting the Jets and a little game preview, okay? Is Kevin Hayes actually legit? And then what is most important about the Blues' success? What exactly does it mean? Well, I will explain all of that coming up here on Locked On Blues. I do want to let you know, though, before I begin today's episode, that today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 moneyline bet. That's $150 if your team wins. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to get started. So the St. Louis Blues are hosting the Winnipeg Jets. This is a part of the Blues' 4-game home stretch that they have. Homestands, I mean. I guess it's a stretch too. And notably, the Blues, they ended up defeating the New Jersey Devils and the Montreal Canadiens. Now, there is something, and switch that, but that's the two teams that they've defeated. Somebody on my page brought up a really good point, and they said, well, the Devils used their backup goalie. A lot of the teams that the Blues face do have their backup goalie in net. This has been a pattern. I'm not surprised because, again, backup goalies do need to get reps. And if you're going against teams that are not as good, it's obvious that you're going to use your backup goalie. That's what the Blues did against the Coyotes. And the Coyotes actually were a lot better than people gave them credit for, so it didn't work out. But yeah, that tends to happen quite a bit when you're a team that isn't as good. You will see other teams use their backup goalies. So just wanted to touch on that. But I appreciate the listener for being so active and saying, hey, this is something I've noticed. I love that. If you ever notice something and you want me to talk about it, let me know, and I 100% will. So the Blues, obviously, as I said, host the Jets tonight. On yesterday's episode of Locked On Blues, I did talk about how two things. One, I did talk on yesterday's episode about how the Jets were kind of similar to the Blues. Two, this is a big game because this is a division game. And I want to read you a quote from head coach of the Blues, Craig Berube, on what he said. These games are big games. We all know that. Division games are big games, and that's the best way I can put it. So anytime you play a team in your division, that is a big, big game. And with the Jets and the Blues being very similar, being very close to each other in the standings, it's evident that this is going to really tell us more about the Blues, because this is going to be a game where pressure will be on St. Louis, I think, more than the other teams. I'm not saying that it was expected for the Blues to potentially not win against the Devils, but the odds weren't in the Blues' favor in that one. And then against the Canadiens, it was kind of the same thing, up in the air. But this is now a division game, okay? So a little bit of different pressure put on the Blues. So for today's projected lineup, it is going to be on the first line, Robert Thomas, winged by Pavel Buchnevich and Kasperi Kapanen. And then you have Braden Shen, and that will be winged by Braden Saad and Jordan Kyrou. And then you have Kevin Hayes, which I will talk about in a second, okay? He will be winged by Alexei Turchenko and Jakub Vanra. I know, it's Jakub, there's so many different ways to say his name, and I like Jakub. I don't know. Varan. Okay. And then we have Oscar Sundquist, winged by Sammy Blais and Jake Neighbors. So I like these. I think this is actually one of my favorite lineups for the forwards, at least. I think this is actually probably going to be the most successful lineup that Berube can put together. For defense, we have Nick Leddy and Colton Paracco. Then we have Torrey Krug and Justin Folk, Tyler Tucker and Marco Scandella, and in net Jordan Binghamton. One thing about Tyler Tucker I want to talk about is I was on TikTok and his girlfriend posted like a little behind the scenes video. And I just want to say this, that it is so cool kind of getting a behind the scenes look at some of these players. And I said, I cover the Blues. He's been having a good season, but it's one of those things where you just also remember these are also kids living out their dreams. And I think it's pretty cool that, guys like Tyler Tucker, you got Sammy Blais, Jake Neighbors even. It's just cool seeing some of the younger guys being able to get their time. So always happy about that. What do I think about this projected lineup? I like it. As I said, with the forwards, this is one of my favorite. Defense, it's difficult because there are certain players that I really would not want on the team. But it is fine because, you can't do anything about it. And I want to read you a quote now that Robert Thomas said. So basically, I'm going to sum it up. RT was saying that they weren't happy with their road trip that they were on. So after Saturday night's win, he said, we had a good chance tonight and last night to really put ourselves in a good position moving forward. Realistically, happy with the whole team effort. Okay. So not only did Robert Thomas, Braden Shen, Jordan Kyrou, and Kevin Hayes each collected 3 points in the back-to-back wins, it also was the first goal of the seasons for Hayes and Shen. So that slate of the 2 games, those back-to-back games, I think really boosted the Blues' confidence, which I will talk about coming up in just a little bit about what this exactly means for the St. Louis Blues team and some players more specifically. Do I think that the Jets are going to be a more difficult team to go against? Maybe. I mean, the Jets are also coming off a 5-3 win against Arizona. This was Nino. I always mess up his name, so don't. Nino. Oh my gosh. I'm going to see every single time I say it's like a tongue twister. 9 riders. Okay, I tried. 3rd career hat trick. I always do this, okay? Do not come at me. It's like, it's not easy. But he was in Nashville last season, so that's how we basically know him. But, yeah, he's been kind of killing it in Winnipeg, so it makes me a little bit nervous. The other things, too, is that the Jets are, they've allowed a penalty goal in all their games except one. Do I think the Blues are going to be able to get a power play goal? Maybe. Maybe. But these 2 teams, they both have things that they struggle with. So I do think that it's more realistic. Just to let you know, the Blues did fall to Winnipeg 4-2 on October 24th. So that wasn't so great. But it's at the end of the day, I think that this will be a good matchup. And for the Blues, I talked about him yesterday. Kyle Connor, he's somebody that has been just improving every season. And it's his 21st career game against St. Louis, and he does pretty well against the Blues. So I don't know. It makes me a little bit nervous. I'm going to be honest. But you know what doesn't make me nervous and that I love? The Blues. Well, yeah, I love the Blues, but I also love FanDuel. Score early this NFL season with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 moneyline bet. That's $150 if your team wins. If you've been thinking about joining FanDuel, there's no better time to get in on the action. The app, it's so easy to use, and there's a wide range of betting options, including spreads, player props, over-unders, and more. So visit FanDuel.com to kick off the NFL season. FanDuel, official partner of the NFL. And I want to let you know that your Kansas City Chiefs, I always say this. I say this every single episode, and some of you guys even have messaged me and said that it hits. You take KC on the money line. You take Patty Mahomes throwing over 220 yards. Boom, you get money. I do the 2-leg parlays. I have to tell you, FanDuel, though, if you do 3-leg or more parlays, they give you some great boost. So it's definitely something to take advantage of. And I have a key witness. It is my co-host, Stella, who is my cat, and she can even testify that she likes FanDuel. So again, go to FanDuel.com/lockedon. Yes, I use a cute cat to endorse FanDuel. Okay. Is Kevin Hayes legit? Okay. So this is something that I feel like needs some touching on. Okay. Kevin Hayes, he had a great weekend. No denying that. But will this be consistent? I don't know, and I don't have the answers on that. I think at the end of the day, Kevin Hayes definitely had a really slow start to the season that first month. You didn't see much of him. He made some really sloppy mistakes. He ended up in a horrible play to where he basically got the puck in the Blues' own net by giving the other team the puck. It wasn't good. But after this weekend, hopefully this now insinuates a spark with Hayes' play, and now we see what he can do on the ice. I think that with the Blues and their offseason, they only, as I said, acquired Sunquest and then Hayes. So I feel like Sonny's been playing well, but a lot of pressure was put on Hayes, and he wasn't really delivering. And I think for not just me, but I think just Blues fans in general, I mean, it's been frustrating because we want this guy to be able to really help out our third line quite a bit. And that's the kind of guy that he is. And, you know, he's a solid center. He has a lot of experience in the league, but yet he was so invisible. And it just made you think, okay, well, why did we get this guy? And you can still question it. I'm not telling you how to feel. I am just explaining that when you have a player like Kevin Hayes, a player that was brought in this offseason after a lot of drama went down between, you know, all that stuff going on. It's one of those things where you just want that player to just really thrive, succeed, and help your team out. Because at the end of the day, the Blues didn't do much to add to their team. And time again, I feel like this is kind of a pattern in the NHL where these players that, you know, may not be as good as some of these all-stars get brought to a team in hopes that it will help change up the team a little bit. And it doesn't. But I think everybody knew that Kevin Hayes realistically was going in to be on the third or fourth line. And I think that if he plays the way that he did this weekend, then it's a success. It's success. Now, he's not a player that was going to change the Blues to begin with. So anybody that thought that, don't think that. Because let's go say Connor McDavid comes to the Blues. Like, I know, very random. I was actually just watching a video on him. I watched a lot of hockey, okay? And that would be a little bit of a different story. Then that's like, okay, this guy's going to change up the team. But if you have a guy like Kevin Hayes, and I'm not knocking him down. I'm not trying to diminish him whatsoever and, you know, his accomplishments and him as a player. But I'm just being realistic here and saying that he was never going to change the Blues, but at the same time, he was hurting the Blues by not performing well. And I think that now, if he just plays the way he did this weekend, get those assists, get those goals most importantly, because goals are most important in this league, unless you're Robert Thomas, who can do both amazingly. Just rack up as many points as you can. And I think that the love of the fan base will follow. I think the Blues are having fun now. It looked like this weekend they were having fun, especially when they took those bigger leads. And that's another thing is that I think Kevin Hayes really does love playing in St. Louis on his social media. He's always reposting things that, you know, St. Louis is putting out. He seems to be a good teammate. Based off of his interactions. There was a great video or pictures that the Blues put out of players cheering on the bench. I forget which game it was. And Hayes was on the bench and his arms were up in the air cheering. I think Kevin Hayes truly does love being here in St. Louis. And I think he does love wearing the blue note. I mean, who wouldn't? But I think that after this weekend, now that's the Kevin Hayes that the Blues should be seeing, and anything less is unacceptable. But you know what is acceptable? Sleeper. A new NHL season brings all sorts of possibilities. Robert Thomas could score 50 goals and the Blues could hoist the Stanley Cup. And you could win big by playing daily fantasy hockey on Sleeper, the official daily fantasy app of the Locked On NHL Network. Sleeper is our number one choice for daily fantasy sports and especially daily fantasy hockey. Because with Sleeper, you can win 100 times your cash in daily fantasy hockey contests. And okay, let's go say you're liking Robert Thomas for assists and you're liking Jordan Binnington for saves. And let's go be a little bit crazy here. You like Kevin Hayes for goals. Well, that's all you have to do. You have to pick guys like that. And honestly, the thing with Sleeper is you can use it for projections, for goals, assists, save, plus, minus, and so much more. So you literally can win with any player on your team. To win 100 times bet on Sleeper, you need to correctly predict the outcome of 8 player stats. You heard me, Blues fans. You can win 100 times your money playing daily fantasy hockey with Sleeper. So start paying attention and nail your picks so you can start winning big. Use promo code LOCKEDONNHL and you will get up to $100 match on your first deposit. Terms and conditions apply. That's code LOCKEDONNHL. See Sleeper's term reviews for details and locational availability. Awesome. Okay, so another thing that I like that is awesome is what is most important about the Blues' success? Is it the team finding their identity? Is it so that Berube stays? Is it so when the draft picks that the Blues recently acquired are ready to come up, they will be with a well-rounded team? What exactly is most important right now about the Blues winning hockey games? Is it maybe trying to get into the playoffs? Is it trying to get a wild card spot? I am curious. So my everydayers, let me know in the comments below what you think is most important about the Blues' success. I'm going to tell you my opinion. And then on tomorrow's episode, I'm going to discuss what you have to say. So what is most important for the St. Louis Blues finding success? Well, I think it's a number of things. I think that when you're a team that really struggled, especially last season, it's diminishing, right? I'm sure that Binnington didn't feel good. I'm sure Thomas didn't feel good. I'm sure that Shen didn't feel good. And I think that takes a toll on a team. I think with the St. Louis Blues, it's funny and not funny in a way, but they were never a favorite team in the NHL, being like favorited, not that they're not well liked. Even on their cup run, that's something that I feel like needs to be in the past. Okay, now I'm not saying forget about the cup, and I'm not saying forget about the win, but this is a completely different team than that team was. Yes, they might have some of the same players, and I get that. As a fan, I do this all the time. I just want to see them win, and I want to be able to see those players use that same energy from that season. But this is a completely different team. A lot of our guys that were on that team are no longer here. And I think the Blues need to find a new identity. I think there is a lot of unknown about the St. Louis Blues team. Who are the Blues in a sense, right? Are they a team that's going to be more aggressive on the ice despite them not maybe winning a lot? Or are they going to be a team that has close call wins? Or are they going to be a team that, plays hard even when they're down? I don't know, because I feel like every game I watch from the Blues, and this is just my observation, it is a completely different team on ice every single time. I can't tell you these things, but I can say what I'm observing. And right now, I'm observing a team that looks like they're finding themselves, a team that looks like they're seeing how enjoyable winning is yet again. I think they're a team that's adapting to new leadership with Shen as captain. I think they're a team that is playing for the best city in the NHL, St. Louis. I think they're a team that wants their chief head coach of the Blues, Craig Berube, to have more success here in St. Louis. I think that the Blues have passion, they have heart, and it shouldn't be something where they crumble and fall. That's not how I see the season going. Maybe, after the first couple weeks, I was like, okay, this is awesome. We're going down again. But I think now it's one of those things where I do see the Blues being an average, belowish team. I think they're going to have their highs and their lows. They're going to have winning streaks. They're going to have losing streaks. Inevitable. That's how it goes sometimes in the NHL. But I think they're going to be a team that continues to care and play with heart. And I think that's all you can ask for. And I love the Blues. I watch every single Blues game because at the end of the day, no matter how the Blues are on the ice, they're still my hockey team. And I'm going to always be cheering them on. So I want that passion to stay because there is a reason why we are the best fan base. All right, time to enjoy some hockey tonight, and hopefully the Blues ground those Jets. Let's go Blues.